The following is a presentation of Learfield IMG College.
This is Duck Insider.
Give it to Verdell. He's got the first down and gone. Duck fans start celebrating. Oregon is the 2019 Pac-12 champion. The 2020 Rose Bowl champion.
Richardson, another open three. Good. Duarte dribbles and slams with the right hand. For the third time in the last 5 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions. Outright champ.
Holy three. Good. Volleyball. Out Shelley. Three ball. Good. Regular season champions and now Pac-12 tournament champions.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
We're just getting started.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Well, it's a heck of a day. Heck of a day around the college football and college athletics landscape. We're going to unpack all of it on the show today. It's been a very fast-moving, really 72 hours or so. As we sit with you live in the 1 o'clock hour, the Pac-12 Conference has announced a news conference for 1:30 Pacific time. 1:30 Pacific time. We'll get an official announcement on the outcome of the Pac-12 CEO meeting that is wrapping up and has just wrapped up. This comes after the Big Ten has already announced its postponement of all fall athletic events, including college football. Big Ten officially announced that just a little while ago if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour. And I want to continue to say that we do the show live from 1 to 2. Many of you tune in live via video or audio, but a lot of our Oregon Sports Network affiliate stations do carry the show a little bit later on. This is a very fast-moving time. So, for example, our friends at 95.3 The Score in Eugene, the show will air 5 hours later at 6 o'clock. So things could change, but we know that we've got an announcement coming from the Pac-12 at 1:30, and this follows the Big Ten's announcement. All about protecting players, all about protecting the student athletes. That's what this has all been about from the beginning, and you're going to hear a lot about that on the show today. The Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren appeared on the Big Ten Network. We're going to talk about that. And at 1:30, again, at 1:30, Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott, University of Oregon President Michael Schill, and the chairman, he's also the chairman of the Pac-12 CEO group, Ray Anderson, the Arizona State Athletic Director, and Dr. Doug Ackerman, who is from the task force on the medical committee for the Pac-12. He's the OSU Senior Associate Director of Sports Medicine. This has been a dark day already for college sports, and frankly, I think that all of us were kind of prepared for a day like this, but it's like they always tell you when you go through, something that just sucks, you can prepare all you want for it, but once it hits you, it still feels like a ton of bricks. And that's how I feel right now. I think that everybody feels that way. And look, I don't want to minimize anything too. Let's backtrack just a second before we get into what the Big Ten statement said and some of the statements from the Big Ten schools as we await the official announcement from the Pac-12 here in just about a half an hour. I also do want to talk about some products today, and University of Oregon President Michael Schill did issue a statement yesterday on preparing for fall classes at the University of Oregon. I think there's some important things to unpack there. We're going to do that. Again, official announcement coming in about 25 minutes from the Pac-12 on the outcome of that CEO meeting. So I don't want to minimize this. People have lost a lot with this pandemic. It's not just sports. And I don't want to sit here on a sports show, and especially on one so closely tied to the University of Oregon as I sit here with a duck head on my chest. It's not just sports. This pandemic's bigger than sports. And I think that's kind of the theme of all this, right? Is that it's bigger than sports, and sports is one of the casualties now of this pandemic. It's unfortunate. To be honest, it's a lot more than unfortunate. It just flat out sucks. But I don't want to minimize what other people have gone through. I've been very fortunate. Nobody that I know in my immediate family and friend group has really had to deal with the COVID virus and the COVID-19 pandemic. Just affected you financially, mentally, but I don't know anybody who's I'm close with that has had it. I think that once you know somebody who's had it, it changes your perspective a little bit. So I don't want to minimize what everybody has gone through. Sports is just one section of this. And you've heard me say since we went back on the air with Duck Insider that we were going to try and have fun with this. We were going to talk about the fun aspects of sports. Today's just not one of those days. There's just so much that's been lost with this pandemic, and now sports is one of them. And let's be honest here. I worked a day a week. I got reduced to a day a week because of the pandemic. A lot of people were in that boat, right? I think a lot of you tuning in are in that boat. And I feel for you. I do. And now, who knows what's going to happen as we move forward, and we're going to unpack it. So let's get into what the Big Ten said as we await the official press conference from the Pac-12. Again, about 1:30 is when Commissioner Larry Scott will meet with the media. Scott and I discussed taking the press conference, carrying it live here on Duck Insider, and I think instead what we're going to do, rather than try to piece things together, and we don't know what the press conference is going to look like and how it's going to be all put together. It sounds like Ashley Adamson and Yogi Roth from the Pac-12 Network will moderate the first 15 minutes or so. I think what we're going to do is I'll give you the highlights as the news comes out on the show, and we'll unpack all of it. I am going to take a lot of your comments and questions. I'll answer them as best I can. Obviously, this is a fast-moving news cycle right now. But I would anticipate I'll be able to answer some of the questions. I will do that. Bear with me. I will do that. And if you have questions, please send them our way on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I'm on Twitter at JoeyMacUO. You're probably watching the show on the @UO Sports Network Twitter if you're on that social media site. I do want to unpack all of that. But the other point that I'm trying to make is before we get into the Big Ten, instead of trying to fumble our way through a live press conference toward the end of our show, we will record the press conference. We will have all of the highlights for you in sound bites, if you will, on the show tomorrow. So we can really take some time, because what I don't want to do is just throw a live press conference on the air and we don't know how it's going to sound. We don't know what's going to come out of it. So I know fans are probably wondering, are you going to take it live? And that was what we decided to do. Because I think it's going to take a little bit of time for me to digest in order to give you the proper, shall we say, breakdown of everything. So today, the Big Ten Conference announced the postponement of the 2020-2021 fall sports season, including all regular season contests and Big Ten championships and tournaments due to ongoing health and safety concerns related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Reading directly from the Big Ten statement now. In making its decision, which was based on multiple factors, the Big Ten Conference relied on the medical advice and counsel of the Big Ten Task Force for Emerging Infectious Diseases and the Big Ten Sports Medicine Committee. I want to pause. Very similar to what the Pac-12 did. The Big Ten established different committees to discuss and break down all the various ways to attack this virus and do it safely. Continuing from Morton Shapiro. He is the chair of the Big Ten Council of Presidents and Chancellors and the Northwestern University president. He said, "Our primary responsibility is to make the best possible decisions in the interest of our students, faculty, and staff." Makes sense. Now, for those of you who are watching the show, you can read along with me on this part. This is from Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren. "The mental and physical health and welfare of our student athletes has been at the center of every decision we have made regarding the ability to proceed forward. As time progressed, and after hours of discussion with our Big Ten Task Force for Emerging Infectious Diseases and the Big Ten Sports Medicine Committee, it became abundantly clear that there was too much uncertainty regarding potential medical risks to allow our student athletes to compete this fall. We know how significant the student-athlete experience can be in shaping the future of the talented young women and men who compete in the Big Ten Conference. Although that knowledge made this a painstaking decision, it did not make it difficult. While I know our decision today will be disappointing in many ways for our thousands of student-athletes and their families, I am heartened and inspired by their resilience, their insightful and discerning thoughts, and their participation through our conversations to this point. Everyone associated with the Big Ten Conference and its member institutions is committed to getting everyone back to competition as soon as it is safe to do so." That's Kevin Warren. He is the Big Ten commissioner, and he's a first-year Big Ten commissioner. Yeesh. What a time to have your first year on the job, huh? I was actually talking with Graham Abel about that, Oregon soccer coach, and happened to just say, God, what heck of a first year, huh? I mean, it's been a heck of a year for everybody. Fall sports included in this announcement for Big Ten conference action, just to clarify: men's and women's cross country, field hockey, football, men's and women's soccer, and women's volleyball. The Big Ten Conference will continue to evaluate a number of options regarding these sports, including the possibility of competition in the spring. Decisions regarding winter and spring sports will also continue to be evaluated. That's a key portion of the Big Ten's official release. So it's not a true cancellation. I think that, at least I've seen this in reports and in social media, there's an awful lot of it's canceled. Technically, it's postponed. It's a postponement for the Big Ten right now. Big Ten will continue to work with medical experts and governmental authorities to gather additional information, evaluate emerging data and technologies, and monitor developments regarding the pandemic to make the best decisions possible for the health, safety, and wellness of our student athletes. I thought it was important to read the majority of the full statement from the Big Ten for you, because again, it's all about protecting student athletes, and competition in the spring is still a possibility. Winter and spring sports still being evaluated. That's what the Big Ten said with their official announcement. And in less than 20 minutes, we'll have the press conference with the Pac-12 leadership group and their decision regarding the fall season. I'm doing my best to multitask for you and keep up with everything in the very fast-moving news cycle. Scott's helping me out, keeping track of Twitter and just seeing all of the different developments as they come out. And when we have some official announcements on the Pac-12, we'll have them for you on the show. I do want to get a quick timeout. When we come back, a couple statements from the Big Ten universities and the football coaches. Also a little more on just what this is going to mean for sports in general. And we'll see what happens with the other conferences. Again, the Pac-12 decision coming here while we are on the air live in the 1 o'clock hour. And I it's a very sobering statistic that I'm going to read to you after the break. It's really quite something. All right, give me a moment to catch up with some of your comments and questions. I'll do my best to answer them when we come back. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. More coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Learfield IMG College.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Joey Mack back with you on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union, live from the Country Financial Studio. Again, Pac-12 press conference and announcement coming to discuss the fall season in about 15 minutes for the official announcement. I see all the same reports that all of you guys do. The Pac-12 will be following the Big Ten. We'll find out together here in about 15 minutes, and we'll keep you up to date. I see a lot of people wondering about if they decide to move to the springtime, what things could look like for the fall of 2021. I think that that's a very, very good question. And I'm curious to see, and I'm sure that it will come up in the press conference as we move forward here on a very, very sad day for college football, with the Big Ten making their announcement. I think that a lot of people have seen those same comments that I have about if you have a football season, if you're the Big Ten, for example, in the spring, and then you're going to play again in the fall, that's a tight turnaround. There's just a lot of logistics there. But look, this is completely unprecedented. And I mean completely unprecedented. And you talk about just uncharted waters, and I just, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting. Pac-12 Conference has just issued the following statement: postponing all sport competitions through the end of the calendar year. This coming out of San Francisco, that the Pac-12 CEO group voted unanimously to postpone all sport competitions through the end of the 2020 calendar. I'll do my best to break all of this down for you and go through everything. And I think, Scott, if you could, pac-12.com, we can try and throw some of it up on the screen for you to follow along with us. And I know that I didn't get through many of your questions, and I will do my best to do that, but I want to get everybody the update here. So the decision was made after consultation with athletics directors and with the Pac-12 COVID-19 Medical Advisory Committee, who expressed concern with moving forward with contact practice. The report and updated guidelines of the committee can be found on the Pac-12 website for those of you who are curious, and a full list of committee members can also be found as well. The conference also announced that when conditions improve, it would consider a return to competition for impacted sports after January 1st, 2021. I'm reading this for the first time, just like all of you are. So again, if you're joining us, the Pac-12 CEO group voted unanimously to postpone all sport competitions through the end of the 2020 calendar year. So that's significant because that means that it's not just fall sports, it's non-conference winter sports as well. Basketball, for both the men and the women, that's off the slate now as well. Student athletes impacted by the postponement will continue to have their scholarships guaranteed. Additionally, the Pac-12 Conference strongly encourages that the NCAA grant students who opt out of competition this academic year an additional year of eligibility. As part of their guaranteed scholarships, they will continue to have university support, including academic advising and tutoring, among other support services. That's the right move, I think. I'm not representing the U of O with that statement, but I think that's the right move. Conference is strongly encouraging the NCAA grant students who opt out of competition this academic year an additional year of eligibility. They did it for spring athletes. The NCAA did. Now the quote from University of Oregon President Michael Schill, who is the chairman of the Pac-12 CEO group. All of the Pac-12 presidents and chancellors understand the importance of this decision and the disappointment it will create for our student athletes, the coaches, support staff, and all of our fans. Ultimately, our decision was guided by science and a deep commitment to the health and welfare of student athletes. We certainly hope that the Pac-12 will be able to return to competition in the new year. I think we all hope that, that's for sure. Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott now. The health, safety, and well-being of our student-athletes and all those connected to Pac-12 sports has been our number one priority since the start of this current crisis. Our student-athletes, fans, staff, and all those who love college sports would like to have seen this season played this calendar year as originally planned, and we know how disappointing this is. Scott noted that while the conference's detailed plan to keep student-athletes safe was working in accordance with the Pac-12 COVID-19 Medical Advisory Committee guidelines and state and local government orders, the situation was becoming more challenging. This is a direct quote now from Larry Scott. Unlike professional sports, college sports cannot operate in a bubble. Our athletic programs are a part of broader campuses and communities. where in many cases the prevalence of COVID-19 is significant. We will continue to monitor the situation, and when conditions change, we will be ready to explore all options to play the impacted sports in the new calendar year. We know that this is a difficult day. We know that this is a difficult day for our student athletes, and our hearts go out to them and their families. We have made clear that all of their scholarships will be guaranteed, and that as a conference, we are strongly encouraging the NCAA to grant them an additional year of eligibility. That's the release from the Pac-12 today. And again, a news conference coming in about 10 minutes for a little bit more details from the Pac-12, but I think we all got the idea here, didn't we? Pac-12 conference postponing all sport competitions through the end of the calendar year. But I do think that it's important, and I want to read this again. Larry Scott said, quote, "We will continue to monitor the situation, and when conditions change, we will be ready to explore all options to play the impacted sports in the new calendar year." So it's, again, not a cancellation. I think that's important to point out to everybody. Not a cancellation, a postponement for the Pac-12 and the Big Ten both. So now I know that nationally and really everywhere, I suppose, in every landscape, it's going to turn toward the likes of the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC. What do the other Power 5 conferences elect to do? As the Big 10 and the Pac-12 made the announcement first that all fall sport competition is postponed. Now, the Pac-12 did go one step further than the Big 10, though, with the suspension of all athletic events until the end of the 2020 year. The Big Ten said that evaluations for winter sports and spring sports would continue to be deliberated. I think that that's a big step by the Pac-12, and that shows you just how concerned the Pac-12 Medical Advisory Committee is about the COVID-19 pandemic, and I think we've all seen life change as a result of it. And I know a lot of you have asked about safety and what's been going on. As Devin points out, in his opinion, it isn't about keeping athletes safe, about that one kid who gets the lingering effects. And to be honest, though, I mean, this is just my opinion. One kid's enough. I mean, if one person is going to have those lingering issues and we don't know, right? I mean, I'm not a doctor. And I'm reading what doctors are saying and what the Pac-12 Medical Advisory Committee is saying, and they're saying that this just isn't a good idea. And I totally understand that. Look, I'm just going to take off the how do I say this, Scott? I'm going to take off the sort of, I guess, filter for just a second here. This is devastating, I think, for a lot of people. My heart goes out to the student athletes who were affected in the spring and now who are affected in the fall. My heart just goes out to them. Just like my heart goes out to all of the students who had a remote graduation in the spring. Some of our interns, they didn't get to really have that celebratory end to their college career. And there's been so many other examples of just how much this sucks. I wish that I had a better answer for it. And I know that there's going to be a lot of debate, a lot of people, just wanting to play football, play volleyball, play soccer. And I totally understand that. I wish for that too. But those long-term issues and the unknowns continue to be what the decision makers are referencing. And when there's that many unknowns, man, it's scary. It's really, really scary. So the Pac-12 CEO group today voted unanimously to postpone all sport competitions through the end of the 2020 calendar year. All right, I said that I was going to try my best to get through your comments and questions on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I do want to do that. I was in the middle of doing that when the Pac-12 statement came out, so I wanted to make sure that we got the statement for you as soon as possible. And that press conference that's coming up bottom of the hour, if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, we'll have some details from that. I'll be following along with what's being said. And then for those of you who want to hear everything, I know the Pac-12 is going to post it, and we will have the press conference in its entirety for you tomorrow. I want to take some time to digest it. Scott and I are going to put together kind of the full breakdown of everything that was said for the show tomorrow, rather than just, as we say in the business, doing it live. Scott's, yeah, see, I made my first joke of the day. Yeah, we needed that. Okay, I will try my best to catch up on all of your comments and questions. I'll answer them to the best of my ability, and we will continue to get through this together. August 11th. Not a good day. Not a good day. Stuck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. We're inside the Country Financial Studio. Some of your questions, and we'll talk about it together when we come back on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar presents an original that's now maybe even better. Humpty Dumpty.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a delicious Mountain Dew Zero Sugar with the same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. And all the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't get Humpty to try a different zero sugar soda again.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. As good as the original, maybe even better.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish, Dad.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. You know, at the end of the day, yeah, this all just stinks. All right, I want to get to some of your comments and questions, and I think some of them will be answered in the press conference coming up from the Pac-12. We'll do our best to keep track of everything for you. And, you know, let's start with this. Justin says on YouTube, Joey, will you hold me and tell me it's going to be okay? I wish I could, man. I wish I could. Yeah. You know, I thought that I knew that it was going to be a rough day, right? I mean, I think we all knew it was going to be a rough day, but it still hits you like a ton of bricks. It does make you sad, just all the way around. I think that's the majority of the comments that I'm seeing here. You know, Rick asking a very good question. What happens to the players now? Yeah, I think that's a very, very good question, and I hope that gets discussed in this upcoming press conference, and hopefully we'll have an answer to that because, you know, the Pac-12 said that the scholarships will be honored. You know, you're still going to be able to go to school academically. Tutoring will still be available. All the academic needs for the student athletes and the students will be available. So school, I would imagine, is going to be the number one focus, but I think what Rick's getting to is, you know, so what do you do for the student athletes now as it pertains to the athlete portion of student athlete, right? They're going to be able to practice and work out and develop still. And I think that's a very good question. And frankly, one that may be different at every school and is probably going to be different for every student athlete. But I think it's a good question, and I don't have the answer to that yet. I don't know that anybody has the answer to that yet. So we'll talk about that, though, I think a little bit a little bit more throughout the day. And it does really stink. Mitch asking a very good question, and I'm curious about this as well. Mitch says, why did they come out with a schedule last week, then turn around and cancel it? What changed? Well, I want to go into a little bit of the nitty-gritty then with you here, if everybody will bear with me. So the Pac-12, as part of their release, did reference the COVID-19 return to play considerations. And one of the things that the Pac-12 said today, and they're breaking this down, the current assessment is that the document that I'm about to read to you represents our current assessment of the most effective measures to ensure safe return to full contact activity and competition. While there are numerous medical issues that we are carefully evaluating, considering the following are concerning medical issues at this time. So this is what the Pac-12 is referencing as sort of the difficulty, if you will. Community prevalence remains very high in much of the Pac-12 footprint. They're concerned about health outcomes related to the virus. Those are those long-term issues that we don't really know about. And also testing capacity. Those are the three biggest, red flags for the Pac-12 Medical Advisory Committee as they put together this document. And that's what the Pac-12 conference is referencing. So I think that it's good. In my opinion, I think it's a good thing that the Pac-12 put this information out there. It outlines all the criteria needed in order to move toward contact competition. And I think we can all agree that we hope that things improve and that the virus flattens or the curve flattens for the virus. But I think it's great that the Pac-12 did put out this assessment as to why there's just so many big red flags and unanswered questions. So that kind of answers that question, I think, Mitch, that just looking at the data, looking at these long-term issues and what things could happen to student athletes. And look, at the risk of sounding a little bit selfish here, it's not just the student athletes, it's about the coaches, all the support staff too. You know, I think that it's not just the student athletes. That's the core of the decision. Don't get me wrong. It's about the health and safety of the student athletes. It's about the health and safety of the student athletes. That's the paramount. So it's also, though, the staff. And Rob Mullins said that on Friday, that this has all been about the coaches and the support staff as well. So let's see. And continuing to answer some of your questions. Curtis says, in his opinion, they couldn't play in the spring. That would interfere with the next football season. Just cancel and move on. Shouldn't be a postponement. Yeah, I think that that's honestly a fair criticism. Just my opinion. I think that there's a lot to unpack there, right? You know, I think that over the years, medical experts have said that you got to have that break in a football season. You know, that's why spring football is limited like it is, and that just makes sense. You know, I think that there's going to be questions about that. There is going to be a lot of questions about that. So the Pac-12 is starting their webinar, and Larry Scott beginning it with, this was an extremely difficult and painful decision. Yeah, I think that sums it up about as well as you can. Now, Donna asking a good question. What happens to the donations? So as it pertains to season tickets and as it pertains to donations for the fall sports and all of those things, I know that the University of Oregon Leadership Group, H.J. Cohn in particular, has been working hard on all these different models and scenarios on what things are going to look like. And I thought that Rob Mullins said it great on Friday. And if you missed that interview on Duck Insider, I encourage you to check it out in our video archives, both on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the above, or on our podcast. You can subscribe to the Oregon Sports Network podcast. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with all those different models that the U of O did. But I thought Rob said it very well that, look, we understand that this is unprecedented, and if you want to keep the money in the University of Oregon and support athletics and support the things even when there aren't competitions on the field, you can do that. If you want the refund, you can do that. I think maybe you slide it into the spring or you move it to next year. I think all those options that you as a fan are going through in your mind right now, the U of O is thinking about all that. They're considering that. And Rob said as much, Mullins did, on the show on Friday. So I hope that answers your questions or your question, Donna. But look, they're gonna do this right. They're gonna do this right. Rob Mosley is on the Zoom call right now with media. He says, quote, "This is an extremely difficult and painful decision," Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott said. "I know nothing we can say will ease that disappointment." And he did go on to note that you can't use that bubble concept as pro leagues do. And Larry Scott said that actually about a week and a half ago when the schedule announcement originally came out. So I think that makes sense that they haven't gone that way. Devin says that it is a cancellation, Joey. We all know there is no way they can play football and basketball in the spring. It's not logistically possible. The 2021 seasons are done. I don't know about that. I mean, I think that it's very logistically challenging, as we've talked about, with the close proximity to a spring and now a new fall football season. I think that there's certainly a lot of challenges. But look, I'll just be honest here, just completely transparent. Football is the economic engine for not just Oregon, but for every athletic department. And so I think if you can do it safely, logistically, we'll figure it out. You know, I think at the end of the day, if you can do it safely, then logistically we'll figure it out. Just because there's so much on the line, and frankly, because the players want to play. We've seen that. I've seen all the same social media that you guys have. You know, I get it. Yeah, I get that. Brian with a very astute point. Love the show, but why have it now? Yeah, well, we're trying. Oh, thank you, Brian. Yeah. It's interesting, though. Just, all right, let's peel back the curtain a little bit, and Scott can jump in on this. John, even back in the radio studio as well. I mean, look, we've been thinking about this since the cancellation of spring sports. I mean, we did 23 OSN Classic broadcasts in the spring. That was awesome. But there's no doubt there's just not going to be as much to talk about on Duck Insider anymore. And I think that what's going to happen, and this we'll have to all kind of get through this together. Scott and I do have a lot of interviews and things in the can, if you will, that we're going to go through, some classic stuff, talking with some former players, pro ducks, and trust me, there's still going to be a lot of developments over the next few months. I think that's safe to say. One of the ideas, well, we don't need to get into this, but we have a lot of ideas of what we'll talk about on the show, and I hope that fans will enjoy it. But I do know it's going to be different, and it's going to be a lot weirder for me and Scotty.
Well, and it's not like it's going away forever.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna play at some point.
I hope so.
So we got to keep it going.
Yeah, I hope so too. Today sucks though. There's just no doubt about that. I think everyone agrees that today just sucks. And yeah, I see Zachary asking a similar question on YouTube about season ticket holders and getting money back. There's going to be a lot more information on that in the coming days. The U of O is going to be working on that, and kind of going through, I guess, your frequently asked questions, if you will. There are going to be definitive answers on that, but I think that it's going to be done the right way. I mean, look, it's going to be done the right way. I think that's the best way to say it. Kenneth says, give me B-roll on our starting QB, please. Yeah, God.
I'd love to.
I'd love that. Wouldn't we all love that? And, man, like I saw today, and the announcement came out today, that Anthony Brown was named to the Johnny Unitas Award watch list. Normally, that'd be, the top of the show. A Duck who's competing for the starting quarterback job is on the watch list for the best quarterback out there. And yeah. Kimberly with a good question, and I think that logistically this is one of the things that will be discussed. Shorter seasons in the spring. I could see that. Maybe it's not a 10-game season like was planned originally. Maybe this is a I don't know. I don't even want to speculate, but I think that that's a possibility. Look, I think everything is on the table. Everything's on the table. Jason, in his opinion, says this isn't about player safety. It's about loss of revenue. No fans means no ticket sales or any revenue. Can't budget for sports, especially if football is canceled. Well, there would be revenue from TV, radio broadcasts. I can say I've seen those budgets. I work with those budgets for radio in particular. there would be some revenue. So I don't think that it was just about – it's not about loss of revenue. I think that this decision is about player safety and the staff safety. But you're right. You can't accurately budget and have a forecast for a budget. It's very difficult with so many unknowns. So yeah, I mean, but let's not weave around that bush, if you will. This is a huge deal, both for student athletes, fans, but let's be real, it's huge financially. I mean, I don't want to beat around the bush here. Like, this is a big deal financially. This is a huge deal, actually, because it's the economic driver for football. It is the economic driver. I think that it's all part of the equation, right? There's nothing. There's just nothing that hasn't been discussed. I want to read a little bit, just following along with what the press conference is discussing. And again, we're going to have the press conference for you tomorrow. I really want to unpack it, spend the afternoon and tomorrow morning, and then we'll have it for you in its entirety. Dr. Ackerman, who's part of that medical advisory committee, he cited cardiac issues and said we don't know enough about it. So I think that that's a big deal, right? We don't know enough about it. That's why I keep coming back to the safeties. Yeah, it's going to be interesting just to see where all this goes and what's going to happen. Sucks. Just absolutely stinks. All right, I'm going to get into some of the nitty-gritty of the press conference here in just a little while. Today's show brought to you by North Fork Public House. Open for dine-in and takeout, northforkeugene.com. Also by Shadow Hills Country Club, your family resort just minutes from home. Call for a tour today. Whew. Yeah, I don't like today. Not a good day. Not a good day. It's Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you. Get through a few more of the details after this from the Country Financial Studio on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Welcome back for another episode of ASMR with Alex. Today, we're exploring the delicious, refreshing sounds of Pepsi. Oh, spilled a little there, but don't worry, it's all under control. Now for the best part. Pepsi. That's what I like. Nailed it. My subscriber is gonna love this one.
Locally owned Bigfoot Beverages is proud to support the Oregon Ducks. Go Ducks. Drink Pepsi.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics. This is the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Tweens have mastered the art of tuning out. Jen, there's a spider in the car. We're turning your room into a home gym. See? Nothing. But some messages need to get through, like making sure they're buckled up the whole ride, every time. Do whatever it takes to make your child listen. Jen, I friended your boyfriend.
Wait, what?
Buckle up, sweetie.
Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace, learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org. Because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Joey Mack back with you on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union, live from the Country Financial Studio. This just sucks. I mean, I just, again, we kind of felt this was coming. There's just so many unknowns. And I just don't envy the people that have to make these decisions with so much unknown. They always say, right, like a good leader will make a decision when he has every ounce of information possible. The problem with this thing is there's just not enough for sure info. And I know, like I saw Devin talking a little bit about, the concessions people, ticket, TV production. Yeah, there are going to be thousands of people. Devin says, to summarize, thousands of people that are going to be impacted by this decision. 100% that's true. I'm one of them. Like, let me not sit here and it's not like I'm trying to sit here and say that one way or the other. All right? I'm presenting the facts of what this is. Am I upset about this? Yes. Am I disappointed? 100%. 1,000%. But I'm not one of the athletes that's going out there and with so many unknowns having to deal with the risks. It's not really my place to say one way or the other. But I understand the frustration for everybody, and it sucks. I wish I had a better way to sum that up. Also, one thing, and John Essick pointed this out during the break, we were talking back in the radio studio. It's not about the money and the revenue, and I didn't even think about this at the time, but John's exactly right. Pac-12 said they're guaranteeing scholarships for these fall athletes, and they're already saying to the NCAA, give them another year of eligibility. They're urging the NCAA to give that year of eligibility. So, yeah, it's not about the money. If it was all about the money, let's squash that right now. I don't think I'm out of line saying this. If it was only about the money, the scholarships wouldn't be guaranteed, the eligibility would be kicked out, everybody would be laid off immediately, and that would just be the end of it. It's not all about the money. It's about the safety of the student athletes, the coaches, the staff. Does money have a big thing to do with the world? Absolutely. I'm not discounting that. Is it a big part of it? Sure. But it's not what leads the decision, guys. And that's me talking. That's not me sitting here with an O on my chest talking. That's me. I really believe that. I think that there's a lot of big statements and decisions and arguments that can be made. And look, I'm a firm believer that this is a very, very nuanced conversation. It has to be. It's not just one or the other. This is a nuanced issue. Well, tomorrow on the show, we will break down everything that the leadership team on the press conference said. I'm sure many of you will read a lot of it tonight. I will as well. I want to read this, though. Larry Scott on when athletics can resume, from Rob Mosley on Twitter @DuckFootball. We know the situation's going to improve. We're optimistic. When and how are really all question marks. Like we've done every step of the way, we're going to continue to monitor, continue to evaluate. But it will be after January 1st. So again, if you're just joining us, the Pac-12 postponing all competitions for all sports through the end of the calendar year, which is one step further than what the Big Ten announced this morning. Big Ten said for just fall sports. So there was still, in the Big Ten's eyes, some hope to play sports for the winter. That's a big deal for the Pac-12. No non-conference basketball, which frankly, with the way things were trending, there might have not been any non-conference basketball anyway. So I'm not sure that that's maybe, as I think about this, as big of a deal as it could have been. But yeah, Pac-12 conference postponing all sport competitions through the end of the calendar year. In all seriousness, this does affect a lot of people, as Devin said. And I saw Taylor saying a second ago, I hope Oregon goes independent this year. They're saying some Big Ten teams are going to play, and we'll see. Yeah, I did see that. So, Nebraska issued a statement today saying that they would still be looking to try to play and what that could potentially look like. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. College football and college volleyball, college soccer, college cross country as pertains to all the sports here at Oregon, it's just tough, man. I don't know. And I keep coming back to that. Really, it seems like from everything that the leadership group for the Pac-12 has said, there's just so many unknowns still. We need answers to questions, I think, before we start planning again. As Larry Scott did say, more work to do before getting to the Pac-12's Plan C, which is playing in the spring. So what does that look like? And maybe the Pac-12 does release some details on what they're thinking, in the coming weeks. We'll find out. So I said that there was a sobering statistic, and I think it really puts into perspective just how big of a deal this all is. ESPN Stats and Info tweeted this. The Big Ten postponing its football season. With the Big Ten pushing back its season, there will be fewer than 500 regular season games this fall. The last time there were fewer than 500 major conference games in the fall was 1943. World War II. The last time Oregon didn't play a game in a season, like in a calendar year. No, I shouldn't say that because they played the Rose Bowl on the first of the year. But didn't play a season, if you will. World War II. Yeah. I think that puts in perspective where we're at. I don't know about you all. This is going to be a day that I remember. Here's hoping that come January 1st, we're looking back and saying, that sucked, but let's roll. Let's all do our part to be able to make that happen. It's interesting, too. We had planned last week to have Matt Ulmer on the show today, Oregon volleyball head coach. I was really looking forward to that. Matt's one of my favorite guests. I was really looking forward to that. That's just how fast these things are moving, man. It's just how fast these things are moving. As we approach the 2 o'clock hour, press conference is probably wrapping up pretty soon for the Pac-12. Scott and I are going to go through it this afternoon, tomorrow morning, and really pull out the highlights for you. And honestly, as I listen to it, we may end up just playing the whole thing tomorrow. I think people want to hear it. Maybe I'll ask, as we wrap up the show today, before we head to our final break, does everybody want to hear the whole thing? I think it might make sense to do that. Yeah, we'll probably do that. All right, we're going to wrap it up after this. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Inside the Country Financial Studio, one more time out. We'll come back, some final thoughts on a rough day after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Whoa. Ooh, long time no see. It's me, the Rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
I wasn't prepared to be a caregiver to Mom. I had no idea how hard it would be and what I would need to know. Things I never thought of, like how to improve her mood and ways for me to stay positive. Luckily, I found the Caregiving Resource Center from AARP. It had articles about the basics, but also information about the hurdles I was facing.
Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving. Articles, tips, and tools to help you both care for your loved one and care for yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Jackson Food Store is proud sponsor of the University of Oregon Ducks. Stop by your local neighborhood Jacksons and go Ducks. Well, Kristen says, want to hear the whole thing? Yeah, I think we'll do that. I think Scott and I will cut it up. You know, we'll find some good spots to kind of break everything down, add some context. I think we'll do that tomorrow. That's going to be tomorrow's show, is we'll really unpack everything. Kyle says, NCAA better prep the basketball bubble, or basketball season will be at risk again. Thoughts, Joey? You know, I did see some of those reports that, you know, maybe you could do that in college basketball like they did in the NBA. You've seen the bubbles work well. We talked about it yesterday. You know, there's been 0 positive tests for all the bubbled sports in about the last month, which is a good sign. I just, you know, Larry Scott said it today that the bubble just doesn't work for student athletes. Yeah, they want to be on campus, right? That's part of the whole deal. And if they can be on campus safely, then they should be. I don't know. I don't. Larry Scott said today that he didn't think that it would work. But who knows anymore? What a day. All right. We'll do it again tomorrow. We'll get through it together, everybody. I hope. See you tomorrow.
All right, everybody in the car. Let's go.
What are we going to do first when we get there, Mom? Go for a hike?
Sure.
What about canoeing? Can we go canoeing, too?
I don't see why.
How long does it take to get to the forest?
It's not that far, sweetie.
Are we there yet?
Yep, we're here.